What's Gucci, freaky fam? Pump up your drip for the Rizzler. Ditch those chuggy randos, and it's low-key giving podcast? Go off, king.
Because it's time to yap Tull to me. Is yap a thing right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It means to talk.
Oh.
But like to talk a lot.
I don't know why we couldn't just use the word talk.
Because of youth speak.
The youths.
Welcome back to the podcast. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are that evergreen duo, the Feckless Momes.
And this, my sweet little fetuses, is Talk Tull to me.
A yassification in the group chat of prog rock in which On God Omen and No Cap Nick will spill the tea on each and every tight track that rager rock band Jethro Tull have ever yeeted onto our feed. We will learn why the earworms of Bay Martin Barr hits different, get crunked with Jerry Conway's juicy gyat, and get down bad while David Pegg pops off. And we will be shook as Peter John Vitesse flexes them fire bars. And if we can stan, serve simp, throw shade, and not get too crashy, we just might get to Netflix and chill IRL with the Sigma of Sky, the Piccolo plug, the turned-up tune tickler, the CEO of Seven Foe, the big yikes of Blackpool, the lit liturgist, the flute goat, the Scottish spitter of straight fire, Ian A.F. Anderson, period.
I understood like 4% of that.
That's my goal.
I understand more of it when you do like scientific technical terms.
Yeah.
How much of that did you, Omen, who is far more in touch with the modern parlance, how much of that did you have to look up?
Well, I did look up a list of youth speak, but I also would understand all of that on the street.
All of it?
I mean, if I spent any time on the street, yeah.
Yes, if you spend any time with the youths on the street. But you do realize that as soon as anything gets written down, it is no longer hip.
Why do you think I wrote it down?
You sabotaged the Zoomers. Good on you.
I zoomed right past them. Nick, today on this very hip and fresh podcast, you and I are talking about a hip and fresh new act that just dropped about 50 years ago called
60 at this point.
Jethro Tull. And we are going to talk Tull about a song that actually is very fresh for me. I've never heard it before.
Fresh and clean, I would say. Yes, we are on track number 13 off of disc 2 of Nightcap. This is Drive on the Young Side of Life. This was originally recorded in 81. We've had a run of them from this era. So this was in 81 at Maison Rouge, Fulham. Just a chronological reminder, 80 was A, 81 is this, and 82 was Broadsword.
Great.
Our personnel, as we've grown accustomed at this point, Martin Barr, Dave Pegg, Jerry Conway. And this is one of those special instances where we have good old PJV as part of the lineup here.
He's coming through.
Oh, very much so. He does in this song. Yeah.
Come through.
Oh, that's a thing. That's a phrase.
Yeah, you can feel free to use any of these phrases in your workplace.
We do have people younger than me, but not that young. I don't think we have any Zoomers.
Do you know that the Zoomers, the new generation, they are driving at much, much lower rates than our generation?
That makes sense.
Because they have nowhere to go.
I mean, yeah. I mean, either they don't have a job or it's remote work, right?
Yeah.
And don't have a job. I'm not saying that like, damn you Zoomers, get a job. It's like the economy is trash.
Yeah.
That's why.
But they have fun.
They kid.
We kid.
We do too.
We have kids. So why don't we take a listen to this song? Then we'll have a little chat.
We'll reconvene.
Yeah, we'll get down.
Yeah. 4 minutes, Drive on the Young Side of Life. drive it straight into your tympanic membranes.
Crash! My membrane! Okay. Schlick my bill.
I will schlick your bill.
Don't tell Raven. What do you think, Nick? We just listened to one song of Jethro Tull.
I do think we did that.
Yeah.
And by gummy, I do really like this song.
Yeah, I do too. I enjoy this very much.
Really solid.
This whole album has been such a treat for me because nothing is expected. All these tracks, I'm like, I just have no idea what it's going to sound like. And this song, again, is delivering that experience for me. It's recognizably Tull, but it has some other really fun musical elements that, again, we haven't really heard. But I don't know how that's possible at this point.
Well, I mean, if we didn't know the Lyricon Blues think back to when we first discovered Lyricon Blues. It blew our faces off, you know? He does dabble and tweak in these sounds. And this was when they were still collaborative, I would say, you know?
My face reattachment doctor has begged me to stop listening to Jethro Tull because it keeps blowing my face off.
Yeah, but that's how he can pay for his boat. So he can't be that serious, you know?
It's like, oh, please, don't listen to any more Tull.
It's a very camp doctor of yours.
Yeah, something for the pain. Don't mind if I do.
Even though this song it's Tull, it's also unique. It also makes utter sense that sonically this is part of that broadsword bonus that just dropped last year. It fits there very, very well.
Yes.
Right?
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think the keyboard, the broad, PJV keys,
Yeah.
Like the stings, the heavy guitar work, the heavy drum work, also, I think are very reminiscent.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it fits sonically with the broadsword era.
Yes, exactly.
And yet it has some distinctive features on its own.
Yeah.
That PJV intro, just before the guitar comes in.
Those keys.
It's so fun. It reminds me of the intro to the first song from Pippin. Magic to Do. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
It's very mysterious and very alluring and very theatrical.
Just like you.
Just like me.
Oh, God, I'm tired. Yeah. Yep. I get it. Very much so.
Oh, fussy. So yeah, it has that kind of that throwback kind of quality to it. That ooh, something's about to start. But then Martin Barr comes in and saves us from the power of the 70s.
From the utterly Pippin, yeah.
The utterly Pippin.
Pippin was 72 for the record.
Ah, there you go. And a great show. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the music. Ben Vereen, of course, was the famous originator of the lead player role, who's kind of the guide through the story, and that's kind of a watermark Broadway performance.
Yeah, I started taking Ben Vereen for my antacid, for my acid reflux, and it's been a lot better, actually.
Yeah. So the guitar drops in. It's really quite hard.
Yeah.
Hard rock sound.
Very, very stingy hard Martin in this. I really like the sound in this for him.
Rock hard Martin Barr.
Just when you think he couldn't get any harder. He destroys the Mohs hardness scale.
If Martin... That's very silly. If Martin Barr has been playing hard for more than 4 hours, call your doctor.
He rubs Viagra on his fingers.
Viagra takes him to get it up.
There you go. That's it. We made it.
He introduces a little bit of dissonance as we go on, which adds just a perfect amount of grit to this song, which is otherwise very, very tuneful, very melodic.
There's a lot going on here, but it does follow this kind of this wave, of music. There are a lot of layers intertwining for this to work so well. But we do have these really hard rock moments, but then we do have it pulls down and then it's just like Ian singing for a brief moment or two.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A great example of that is on the very first and Drive on the Young Side of Life, the first line of that chorus. And drive on the young side of life. It's very exposed. It's pretty much just Ian. There's a little bit of backing. And then the second Drive on the Young Side, the whole band drops back in. Drive on the young side of life. It's a curious choice because, like, if this was a Bon Jovi song, which it's not.
Correct. Fact.
The first line of the chorus would be where everything opens up even more.
Yeah.
So the fact that they pull back and it's like an exposed nerve. My favorite kind of nerve. Just like to chomp on it and poke it. This is what happens when I go on a run before we record. My bloodstream is lousy with endorphins.
I told you to drain them before we started.
I usually do.
Sell them on the black market.
It's also great to have just in general. I love the Quattro. I love the bass drums, Martin and Ian as the regular makeup, but I frickin' adore it when PJV is. I love it when they have a really great keyboard player.
He brings so much to the table. It's so ridiculous.
It's so cool.
I'd be super interested to hear this if we could just pull off the piano part, the keys all together, just cut that track all together and see how it goes.
I think it'd still be a great song.
It would, but after hearing the piano part on there, you can't compare.
He adds so much to it. And when Ian is singing, when the song is focused on the vocal line, just even having the piano backing kind of brings an energy into it that to me makes the voice seem a little bit more relaxed in a way.
Which I think works very well with this song.
Your mother, she protected you and softened every blow.
I think it would be pretty poignant if we cut and hear just Ian's voice. We've heard that before. It's not so unusual, but there is that texture and flavor in the background. And it works in this sense because we get Ian and like a little backing. And then, like you said, on the second line, they all drop in, including backing vocals as well. So there is even more texture to pop into that.
And it's not the Ian harmony special.
No, this has got to be Peggy.
It's not grumble harmonies. It's like a 3-part real harmony with, yes, I agree, probably Peggy, maybe an extra Ian backing, but really singing it. It's gorgeous.
PJV ever sing? Did he back at all? I don't know. It's not in the wiki, so it's hard to tell.
I'm not sure if he throws it back.
He might. We also get some tambo in here.
Oh.
We get some flute. There's a point where after that build-up, right when we start singing, right when we hear lyrics, the drum is just the stick on the edge of the snare. Tick, tick, tick.
Your mother, she protected you.
It's just a new, not unusual per se, but not terribly common for Tull. It's just a very, very subdued sound to put in with this mellow, subdued moment of where it's just kind of Ian doing his thing.
Yeah. Tull is so good about the details.
Yes.
And we were just talking about Charlie Chaplin before we started recording. I feel like whenever you get an artist who brings a certain level of obsession to their work, that's when you start to get really, really intricate and well thought out details.
Yeah.
And I do think that Ian is, and take this how you will, but a bit obsessive about the product in the same way that Chaplin was. Maybe not to the same unhealthy degree.
Yeah.
Chaplin famously would not sleep for 5 nights in a row editing his films. The joke was he would get married and then a divorce would always happen right after he would finish an editing process because he would become insufferable for a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another great fun part is on the line when the pressure pains are building and you're forced to join the rush.
Yep. One of my favorite parts.
There's an amazing crescendo from the guitar.
Yeah.
It starts out, with the voice fairly exposed when the pressure pains are building.
Yeah.
When Martin comes in. Oh, it's so nice.
When the pressure pains are building and your voice.
It's really great. And so that's about 2 minutes in. So we've had a lot of this like heavy, everybody working together, intricate music. We pull back and we get just Ian again. And then that guitar, that building of the pressure drops us immediately back into the cacophony.
Yes.
And it works so good.
The harmonies on this song remind me a little bit of the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young harmonies.
Nowhere near as intricate, but yes, I hear it.
But approaching that level, I mean, this is as intricate as we hear harmonies in Tull, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just a shame that it's so buried in the music. Much like the concert that we just saw like a couple of months ago, when it comes to the harmonies and somebody else singing, there always seems to be this hedging, this lack of confidence. So let's bury it in the music if we can.
Interesting.
Unless it's Ian's grumblecore, but yeah.
Grumblecore. Do you know that the one of the trends with hip hop music is what they call mumble rap?
Yeah, mumblecore is a thing, and I guess it must have bled over to mumble rap.
And I think everyone should express themselves in ways that they see fit, but I think if you're going to write lyrics, we may as well hear what they are. Not to sound like an old man, but get off my lawn with your lyrics because I can't freaking understand them.
Yeah, genuinely, what is the point?
I mean, you could argue that Tull is not something that is easy to get the lyrics on the first listen to either. But at least Ian enunciates.
Yeah, I get it. I can see that as an argument, but I think that argument can only go so far.
And I've forgotten what we're arguing about, Nick. I can't stay mad at you.
You're only halfway there.
Come in.
Oh, Master Nick.
Mary.
It's usually the time of day when I bring you your mail, but there's nothing in the mailbox.
Yeah, it's Memorial Day. There's no mail today.
Maybe there's something in another box.
Mary? Are you cleaning out the attic?
Watch, I can do 30 pull-ups. 1.
I believe you. I can extrapolate from there. I don't think I need to see anymore.
I feel like doing the mambo.
Mambo number 5.
Ah, yes, a little bit of Jessica in my life.
Mary, you are very sprightly today.
I've just been down to the Korean spa, and they filled me full of herbs and spices.
Did you say the Korean spa?
The Korean spa, aye.
Okay, so they made you like Kentucky Fried Chicken with proprietary herbs and spices.
You must try it, young Master Nick. It'll take weeks off of your face.
I'm not sure if I should be insulted by that, but I'll take that into consideration. I mean, if it gives you that amount of energy, it can't be bad.
They've got a 10% off deal. It'll take 10% off your age.
That's not bad. I could go back a couple of years. Yeah,
Hey!
it's almost 4 years.
I feel 30 years younger myself.
That's 10% for you.
Hey, give or take.
I can't do the math, but that I have a feeling that's pretty high up. I never knew your age, Mary. I mean, I could guess, but
I'd rather you didn't. I've picked up some slang from the youth. Do you want to hear it?
yeah, teach me. I'm not really well versed.
All right, I'll give it a go. Hey, Daddy-o, let's go to the sock hop.
Yeah, I think I have actually heard those before. What youth are you looking at? I think is really kind of important.
Ping! I've I've just got a notification. I've got to go. Me new young friends are picking me up. We're going to go down to the abandoned lot and spray paint old cars.
Very cool. Very hip, Mary. Very hip. Speaking of, be careful of your hip. I know it's been bothering you.
Off I go. Me socks have never been tighter.
Nick, welcome back to the second half of the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Omen. It's been a real pleasure.
This is Drive on the Young Side of Life, and we're going to talk about the lyrics. So this is the title itself, the track title, almost some mixing of metaphors already.
It smacks as familiar, but I can't place it. What are you seeing here?
Walk on the sunny side of the street? Or walk on the sunny side of life?
Okay.
Drive on the wrong side of the road?
Yep, that is an adage, yeah.
Young at heart?
I think you're stretching now.
Yeah, I am. I'm warming up.
Okay, great.
Drive on the young side of life. So we can file this song under the songs about youth, perhaps. We could put it in with Little Sparrow on the Schoolyard Wall.
Yes, because it's more an advisement of youth. Don't spend all your days sitting on the wall alone reading books. Go to the mall and have fun with your friends.
Right.
Go joyriding. Don't get swept up in traffic and drive to your banal adult life forever. Turn around and go the other way on the young side.
Go on the young side of life.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll talk more about the commuting side of it because there's some more metaphors a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But it does strike me that, in the days when everyone would commute from the suburbs to the city to work, that dynamic has, of course, changed a little bit, but there's still a rush hour and discernible directions of travel. Perhaps he's recommending go the other direction.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
To go to the suburbs during the day.
To be a house cleaner.
Or to be a young lover. To board housewives.
There you go. Or be a thief. Steal from the empty houses.
Why not both?
Who says you can't be all three?
Steal the hearts. And steal the fine china.
Right.
Your mother, she protected you and softened every blow. And brought you up to fear the worst, to be careful as you go.
Your mother, she protected you and softened every blow and brought you up to fear the worst, to be careful as you go.
Sort of reminiscent of the thin ice of the new day.
Oh, yes. You're thinking The Thin Ice, right?
The Thin Ice.
Not Skating Away.
You're right. Sorry, The Thin Ice of the Pink Floyd song.
Which was Floyd, yeah, but still a similar sentiment, yeah.
So this idea of, I'm going to protect you, which is going to make you soft and less resilient. And also, you should be afraid of the world.
Right, yeah. Next up is one of my favorite lines, and the learned educators with drip feed facts to fill you up to hear with reason, well-meaning overkill.
And the learned educators with drip feed facts to fill you up to hear with reason, well-meaning overkill.
It can be argued that the first couplet right before this is also well-meaning overkill.
Yeah,
I want you to be careful. I want you to be safe, but you'll never be exposed and you'll never experience the world.
Yeah.
And then we get drip-fed facts to fill us up, but it's not practical. It's not life experience.
I love the drip feed metaphor because that's something that you would usually see in a medical circumstance.
Right, yeah.
A drip feed might be a saline solution that they put a drug into so it slowly acclimates your body to it. I suppose it could also be an irrigation term.
Yeah. Yeah, but the idea is the slow and steady.
And that it's a manufactured learning process.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're not learning through direct experience with something, you're learning through this systematic
By rote.
by rote.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were in London?
I do.
Good talk.
Okay.
No, we went to the Hunterian Museum.
Yes, I do. It haunts my dreams.
There are a lot of things in jars. I showed pictures of that to Katie, and she was like, I want to go. I was like, you can go by yourself. I will.
Yeah, I'll sit in the park right outside of it and feed the crows, but I'm not going in again.
But it stuck out to me that that guy, the Hunter, the surgeon, Dr. Hunter, from in the late 1700s, he basically couldn't read and was failing in school, and because he was probably dyslexic.
Yeah.
And instead went and learned everything on a farm and studied nature through direct observation of it.
Yeah.
And learned everything about anatomy through that. So
Right.
that really resonated with me. This is a beautiful line that expresses the dynamic of the difference between here's this kind of dry, prescriptive learning method as opposed to what we're talking about, a more direct experience.
Yeah, right. It's the idea of, well, this is what you're supposed to do. It's why everyone in our generation went to college, because it's what you're supposed to do.
This is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. But for Hunter, he did have that external experience. And then his brother was a surgeon. He helped his brother doing like dissections or something.
Yeah.
And they found he had a real aptitude for the dissection and the anatomy. And then finding out that he was good at this, he then went and studied more, and he was in the war as a surgeon and things like that. So like, it's that organic feeling of, oh, this is what you like to do. This is what you're really good at. Go do it.
Yeah. So the funny thing with this is that we were talking about Sparrow on the Schoolyard Wall. That was released 10 years after this song was written.
After? Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. It was 90s.
This is 81. Catfish was 91.
Wow. Yeah.
So even though it wasn't released until around the same time as Catfish,
Yeah, 93, I think.
this almost seems like a prefiguration
Right.
of some of those themes.
It's the germ of the idea. Yeah.
Ew, germs!
Yuck.
If you find yourself a growing to be old before your time, get off the endless corridor, set your soul out on the line.
If you find yourself a growing to be old before your time, get off the endless corridor, set your soul out on the line.
I think that the central metaphor of this song is this endless corridor.
Right. This slog, this trek of inevitability.
And it's a corridor because it is a designed space. It is a created space that is a one-way track and is prescriptive. It has, in theory, a destination,
Right.
but it actually is endless.
Yeah.
That's the whole skidoo with the way that a lot of us were raised and the way that society pushes children, is to say, well, you have to get a good grade in middle school so you can get into the right high school program. Well, you have to do well in high school so you can get into the right college. Well, you have to go to a good college and do well so you can get a good job. And now, as some of those systems are starting to break down, I think the newer generations, starting with us, are starting to realize, like, maybe this is bull.
Yeah. Because it worked.
It did work.
It worked for like 2 generations, like a generation and a half. And much like everything else in our country, it's like, well, this worked 100 years ago, so why should we change it?
Right. Yeah, like the Electoral College.
Yeah. Or the original Constitution.
Interesting. Getting into the real stuff here.
Originalism. But ultimately, yeah, like you get this level of comfort, whether it's a single person's life or generations. And before you know it, you're swept up
Yes.
in this flow. And it's a whole hell of a lot harder to break that muscle memory.
Yes.
That habit of, well, this is what I'm doing when you're 40, as opposed to someone telling you when you're 18, like, no, don't do this. Don't do this. Please do something else. Break out, follow the other path.
We're kind of jumping ahead to the second verse here.
Yeah.
But yes, talking about that entropy, talking about, when habits get set, when everyone around you is doing something, it's much harder to be brave and do something else, to drive on the young side of life. And we should talk more about what that means. But let's jump to the second verse. When the pressure pains are building and you're forced to join the rush.
When the pressure pains are building and you're forced to
mean, you could call it the rat race as we used to in the 90s.
Yeah. So pressure pains makes it feel like it's a physical thing, but it's also the pressure of society to do what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
And you're forced to join the rush. They're saying everybody get in for a good job, get in for a good school. That's what we do. That's what happens. If you don't do that, you're going to fail at life.
Yeah.
Fail at life by whose standards, though? Capitalist standards? Maybe. But how miserable will you be?
Your dad?
Your dad's standards? Yeah. Jog on, dad. Yeah.
Yeah, because jogging is good for the heart and we want you to live a long time. So
Yeah.
jog on.
Aerobics.
And then that line, you're forced to join the rush in the race to mediocrity, so respectable and plush. Ooh, that one twists the knife.
I feel like we've heard something relatively recently with this kind of the same idea of falling into mediocrity, and it's plush and it's cozy and maybe there's money involved, but how happy can you truly be that way?
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked something about that kind of recently. Oh, Man of Principle. Was it Man of Principle? No. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a similar theme. He doesn't use the word mediocre or mediocrity there, but
No. But it's saying you're supposed to follow these unwritten rules to get where you're supposed to go.
well, and I guess this song was a little ahead of its time in terms of what I'm thinking of, but this was kind of the advent of suburban expansion, suburban culture,
Right. Yeah.
the yuppie movement.
Yeah.
The kind of like, yeah, I have a prefab house that looks exactly the same as everyone else's. And that's great. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yuppie stands for Young Urban Professional.
Oh, I forgot that it stood for something.
Yeah.
I don't stand for anything.
If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything. Is that what it is?
You'll fall over something.
Oh, yeah.
There's some things that I'll lay down for.
If they ask you nicely.
Yeah. So respectable and plush. So this idea that like, oh, you're doing the same thing as everyone else. You're not pressing beyond the boundaries of what's being prescribed. Nice. I respect that.
Right, exactly.
And it's plush because it pays well.
Yeah. You are fulfilling your role as a cog in the machine. Good on you.
Part of the machine. From the song, Part of the Machine.
Was that Ian Anderson singing just then?
That was Ian Anderson as interpreted by...
Tom Waits.
That was Ian Anderson as sung by Tom Waits, played by Matt Berry.
Yeah, I follow it and I like it. I approve.
So then we get, again, this recommendation, this warning. And while the child within is raging and threatens to break out, get off the endless corridor and make a timely turnabout.
While the child within is raging and threatens to break out, get off the endless corridor, make a timely turnabout.
So before it was, if you find yourself growing to be old before your time, get off the endless corridor or set your soul out on the line. We didn't really talk about that. Set your soul out on the line.
Yeah, if you put something on the line, it's at risk, right?
Yes.
You're wagering something in a sense, You're selling your soul if you stay in this corridor. But because of that, you're losing it. But if you're going to risk your soul, if you're going to lose risking it, why don't you do something that you want to do, that you enjoy?
Yeah, it's an interesting phrase. I mean, it also kind of could be to have something on the line exposes it. It brings it to the light.
It's like a clothesline.
It could be on the clothesline. It could be on the front line of a battle.
Oh, sure. A line of cocaine.
Chop up your soul with your credit card into a line of coke.
Mm-hmm. Roll up a $5 bill.
Yeah.
Put it on a mirror.
It
or
makes
a
it
toilet
last
seat.
longer.
The $5 bill or the soul?
All of it.
Yes.
It's the special combo. And then make a timely turnabout is going back to the original metaphor that you were talking about. If everyone is driving in this direction, maybe get off that road.
Yeah, do a Yui, turn around, and you will be more free. You will enjoy yourself more.
Play hooky.
You'll go to the destination that you want to arrive at as opposed to that what society deems appropriate.
And the thing with this recommendation is I feel like it's scalable. I feel like Ian is not necessarily saying, quit your job, put gasoline in your boss's office, toss out your upwardly mobile children and wife, dye your hair pink, and like go join a punk anarchist squatting movement.
Right.
He could be saying, hey, call in sick to work, go down to the fishing hole, and spend a day, putting your toes in the water.
Yeah. Maybe pick up that hobby of painting that you put down 20 years ago.
Maybe pick up that habanero.
And insert it right in your mouth.
Or wherever.
We don't judge, as long as the habanero is consenting.
And there's an implied sense of before it's too late.
Right, yeah. There seems to be something of a threshold that if you cross it, or not necessarily like there's no turning back, but more so that it will be harder and harder and harder. The more that you commit to this and accept this way of life, it's going to be a whole hell of a lot harder to make that turnaround, to break that habit.
It reminds me, one of my favorite songs, and it was actually exposed to me by... One of my favorite songs ever was, I first heard it sung by Tom Waits, we just mentioned. It was originally written by Carolyn Lee with music by Johnny Richards, made famous by Frank Sinatra, Young at Heart.
Oh, I've never heard the Tom Waits version.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart.
Beautiful song, wonderful sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think it has something to say, which is that your body is going to age. Like, growing old is inevitable. Mm-hmm. This song is not saying what a lot of the kind of punk songs of the era were saying, which is die young and leave a pretty corpse.
Yeah.
This is saying you're going to grow old, but don't age prematurely and engage with the world youthfully so that you can always see it as fresh, so that you're not trapped into this gray routine.
Right. An overall awareness of where you are in life, what you're doing, and kind of where you fall in the grand scheme of things. Having that awareness and having that ability to choose, or at least point yourself in even just a slightly better direction, will reap so much more reward than the slog of, well, I got to get up and go to work. Yeah. I'm home. I'm so tired. I'll walk the dog and make a microwave meal and watch Jeopardy and then go to bed.
I'll microwave the dog and take
this lasagna out for a walk.
Well, and what I love about these lyrics are the implication of what happens if you don't give yourself that pressure valve while the child within is raging and threatens to break out. It's kind of like, this is going a little bit into kind of psychological theory, but the idea of the inner child. Mm-hmm. If you ignore your inner child, it will express itself in ways that may not be healthy. And that's why I think we do get the idea of the midlife crisis. If somebody's like, oh yeah, I'm an adult, I'm just going to do the adult thing. At a certain point, your mind is going to say, we cannot stand this anymore. Please cheat on your wife. Please get a Ferrari. We're doing it.
Cheat on your Ferrari with a Mustang.
Get it. Put a turbo in your wife.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do really love the idea of the race to mediocrity. Between that and the drip feed lines, like those two are really, really nice and poignant. Always his poetry is really nice, but those cut the deepest, those two lines, I feel.
Oh, yes.
And it really brings you to awareness as opposed to like, oh, this is a pretty cool song. Like, it gives you this moment of existential dread of like, oh, God, what?
It makes you confront your own values.
A bit, yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like he can't make us feel, but he can make us think.
Where's your sperm? Or your love?
They're both in the toilet.
Oh.
Nick, let me ask you something.
Ask me, son. So sorry. That hurt to say.
We are approaching a certain age, and there are plenty of people our age who, when I look at them, I'm like, oh, you are an old person. Like, what happened?
Quick anecdote.
Please.
We had just a tiny little shindig for Rook's birthday last weekend. And it was just 3 kids at the Fillmore Glen Park, and their parents were there.
Yeah.
Afterwards, Ray and I were like, they're clearly like around our age, but they seem so old.
Interesting. What was it about them?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just that their lifestyle of like, we go camping and hunting and the upstate New York person as opposed to like us.
Yeah.
I don't know. They just seemed like...
They had a vibe of oldness.
Yeah, I cast vibe of oldness.
I cast race to mediocrity. So what do you do to keep yourself young at heart, to drive on the young side of life? What do you do, Nick, to prevent the old?
That's a good question,
From
because I am
seeping into your bones.
Such a curmudgeon already.
You've been practicing being old since you were 15.
I'm getting pretty good at it. I don't know. I mean, I feel physical ailments. I had to have shoulder surgery less than half a year ago, actually, to this date. I've got a lot of gray hair at this point, and I'm always tired, but I don't feel like old.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I read comic books and I play video games, but that's our generation anyway. You know, there's nothing there to say that I'm staying young at heart because of that.
Do you think that maybe your engagement with Tull and really taking the time to do something that is, in theory, at least fun for you, that's not like, this podcast serves no purpose for us, really.
Yeah.
Except it's something that we really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it, that not sticking to those strictures of like, well, this and this and this and this. I'm doing something I enjoy. I'm doing something for art's sake. I will never be as old as Tull, so there's that as well, That's good and reassuring.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the most potent of the things that I do, if at all. I like mowing the lawn. I am an old man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I think it must be the psyche of everyone that like, I'm not that old, right?
I don't know. Some people are like, I'm old and I'm boring. So they really are.
That's valid. Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe it's a combination of having spent my youth doing artistic, creative acting stuff.
That makes a big difference because you learn how to use your creativity. You learn how to tap into your child energy in a really powerful way, and you never lose that skill.
Yeah. And speaking of child energy, I think it's also a matter of like, I'm not the stern, clean-cut, suit and tie to work dad,
Sure.
who is constantly just controlling his son. I like to meet Rook on his level, and sometimes he would prefer it if I met him at an adult level.
He's the adult in the family.
I mean, he kind of is. But I think it's kind of that combination of things. And I think it can also be translated to you having married a 7-year-old.
Now, wait a minute.
Wait, no, okay, that's not how the math works.
Yeah, no, I think having a younger partner definitely keeps me a little bit in touch and keeps me aware and kind of, I try to keep fresh eyes. I try to not get complacent with the way that I see things. I remember visiting this incredible spot in the mountains in Italy and just remarking to someone like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming how absolutely gorgeous it is here. You must wake up every day and just be totally blown away. And he was like, I've lived here for so long, I've sort of stopped seeing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't want that to happen to me.
Right. Yeah, you are certainly much more open and receptive to newer experiences and cultures.
Open.
And the generational differences, I guess, I mean, like, I'm trying to put it in a scientific way of being like, you embrace the culture that the generation younger than us has created.
I'm interested in it because I think that it's the evolution of our culture. It's where we're going. There's a great moment from a Charlie Chaplin film. I think it's called Monsieur Verdot.
Yes.
And he plays a murderer.
Wow.
It's really fun. He's sort of an older figure at the time, and he plays a kind of the male version of the Black Widow. He like marries old rich women and then kills them for their fortunes.
Yeah.
And he gets caught, and he's facing the firing squad at the end. And there's this great moment where they say, blindfold. He shakes his head. And they say, cigarette. He waves them off. He says, no. And they say, rum. And he says, no. And then he says, wait. I've never tried rum before. And they pour him a glass, and he takes it, and he smells it, and he takes a sip, and kind of really, you can tell that he's really in the moment. He tastes it, and he's like, And then they kill him. But I love that, like, even until the moment of death, you can still experience new things. That is the crazy thing.
Right.
That's the beautiful thing about this life.
Yeah.
Speaking of new things, Nick, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we are talking track number, I believe it is 14. Where did my mouse go? Hang on.
Squeak, squeak.
There it is. No, come back. We are talking the next track in line, track number 14. It is I Don't Want to Be Me. Jumping up to 1990 for this one.
1990, I Don't Want to Be Me. Until next week, I am protecting you and softening every blow. I'm Omen Thomas Sade.
I am finding myself a growing to be old before anyone's time, Nick McGill.
We are raging and threatening to break out. We are the Feckless Momes.
And this is a drip feed of facts? Talk Tull to me.
If you are among the very young at heart,